Alright guys, so this is my takeoff of a longer flight, mainly time-wise, not so much of a distance, but I do get pretty far away, and say I get probably 400 feet up and maybe an eighth of a mile away at most. It's maybe a fourth of the way into the video, we'll see here, I'll explain it, but as you can see I'm already pretty high. Got a little bit of glitchiness. The part of the issue is I actually have a little bit of a bent antenna. It was an accidental bump. I actually did it home in the house, not anything flying. I do have a different camera that's on its way. It's actually like the better reviewed if you look up a FPV camera on Amazon. It's one for like $17.99. Got the most reviews for all-in-one camera, microphone, transmitter, and has the little plug. Can fit up to an 850 milliamp single cell. But I do feel like flying it, I had really pretty clear video. And I like this camera a lot. I do want to upgrade, of course. This is just kind of my beginner setup with the plane. Now I fly the DJI Mini 3 Pro. It's completely different than an analog setup. Basically think of like really grainy security camera versus a 4K 60 frames per second on your cell phone, watching live feed. Flying comfortably a mile away. You can definitely fly further, but I wouldn't really suggest it. There wouldn't be really much of a reason to, other than just to say you did. Now, of course, I do have a video that I flew at a mile away, but that was more so a fun thing for me to fly from one place all the way over to my friend's house. I called him in the middle of my flight and said, "Hey, come outside. I'm gonna hover over your house like a UFO. I'll be an alien above your house." But back to this flight that I'm doing here. This was kind of a range test. I told myself, my family members that are into the hobby here with me, that I'm wanting to do a range test of putting the plane on a vehicle, strap it down, and drive it with the camera live feed on the goggles and see how far away I can go. But I was looking up some specs with this camera, going from 25 to 200 milliwatt, and my Eachine's, I think it's ev800d goggles. They're pretty much a beginner, not quite a toy, but beginner FPV goggles. I can do up to a mile. Set around 2,200 feet is where it's really clear video. But you can see there's still some scratchiness with this. May have had some kind of other frequency feeding in. As you can see there, that was about the worst, but definitely had a good roll there with this. This plane is very old. They don't even actually make this anymore. Like whenever I was really big into this a few years ago, I was flying with Park Zone planes, and this is actually a glider. It's a push motor glider, a multiplex Easy Star. I believe it's the V3. I've had the first one and the second one. This may be a second plane of Multiplex Easy Star 2, but Multiplex was a German company that made RC planes. This was a great mid-range plane for park flyer that can still carry a heavy load. It's a good solid CG. But this plane's been glued and slapped together. If you can't tell from the nose that it's not a perfectly clean plane. Had some boo-boos here and there, but this thing has definitely outperformed much more than what most people would ever need it to be. A neat little upside down flight there. I do have a P-51 Mustang. It's a neat scale, probably 16th if I can remember right. I don't know all the scale numbers. but looks really nice in the sky. It definitely flies like a real warbird. And that one's a Park Zone. I wish Park Zone was still a thing, but I know it's, I believe, Horizon Hobby. Their E-Flights and all of their products kind of took over. They bought out Park Zone or something like that. I know they worked really closely with them, but yeah. But yeah, this is actually in my local park, another town over. This is the bigger town. I live outside of a real small town. I'm sure you've seen in other videos if you're coming back to me. Here's a little flyby right over the truck. Yeah, this day we went out with my daughter and took her to the park to play on the playground, and had to convince her to let me fly instead of being on the playground. This flight field is a little too far from a playground itself. Another flyby. Yeah, this glider is actually a beginner glider. A lot of those, push motor gliders, they just kind of sail around real nice and easy. You can do real short belly landings. You can actually take off on the belly instead of with wheels. They're great beginner planes, but they threw what was at the time, and I don't know if they're really around anymore or not, but it's a Grayson Hobby V3 jet. It's a real tiny micro motor. It's pretty loud. Definitely can cook up some pretty quick speed. I know flying with the wind, I have done full speed, kind of nosedive, tried pulling, and one time I had both of my wings snap off midair. Here's another good flyby. Definitely some fun flying here in the park. Now, I will say it was kind of a muggy day. Earlier in the day it looked a lot nicer. During the day in this, though, it was getting to be pretty hard, overcast, but the camera is good at picking up color. I wouldn't say it's great. We'll have to see in the spring time or so, see how much more color it picks up. And we've got grass growing green right now, but we don't have any leaves on the trees. It's not super green outside or anything like that. And of course I'll have to see with the other camera that's coming, the same exact camera. I've got it on order to come out, but this bit antenna may be part of the scratchiness, it may be part of the color issue. We'll have to see. Yeah, back to the whole drone thing with the DJI. I really love doing that, but that is a completely different ball game than flying FPV with goggles on a plane or a drone. You don't really feel so submerged into it. I mean, even with this cheap analog setup, being so grainy, not the prettiest of colors, I mean, it's not a huge wide field of view. With you turning with the plane and having the goggles on your face and feeling like you're actually on that plane is a different ball game for sure, but I can't imagine having a FPV digital setup, how awesome that's got to be. Right there I was thinking about coming into land. It wasn't really against the wind, it was more so coming kind of from the side. If you're seeing the video now, it's more blowing from the right to the left, if I remember right, because it was hitting my back. So here I kind of come into the wind, you see me kind of sliding to the left. So I'm definitely having that wind hit my back. But here I come in for a landing. And with FPV, it can be buttery smooth for a landing. And I wasn't coming in for a landing. I should have known better. I was coming in a little hot there. Maybe here it is. Yeah, this is a buttery smooth landing with FPV for sure.